Welcome to a real driving test. This is Mill Hill Driving Test Centre car park. If you've been here before, you'll know it well. It's very narrow, so take it slower. All test centre car parks at the beginning and the end, always nice and slow and steady. There's a prime example right there. Okay, so if you're new to the channel, we're always doing official test routes, and this is an official test. I will commentate this whole video, and I was privy to this as I was sitting in the back. So I actually see the whole thing, and I am going to tell you right now, without spoiling it, you're going to be in for a huge shock, as I kind of was, and it's something that's super relevant at the moment. Look to the left, you would have seen the mirror there just to help us to see if there's any oncoming traffic. It's very narrow, like we said at the beginning. And here we are, Scott, you in the back, you should remember, turning right. So we're turning right. So obviously you just want to do your mirrors and signals. Sit here and wait. Be patient. So if you're starting your driving test, you're going to be at a super anxious level, the heart's racing, we're nervous, whatever you want to call it. Take 4 deep breaths. Whoo, as big as you can, and just slow that heart rate down. Look for the moment when you would walk out onto the road. When you walk out, that's the safe time to drive out. We're following the road ahead at the roundabout, and that was a good move from the student there, driving a little bit on the circle too to avoid hitting the pavement on the left. We are allowed to drive on the white circles, that's absolutely fine, especially if you have a larger vehicle. So if you need to avoid hitting the pavement, drive a little bit on the white circle when you're on the mini roundabouts, literally on the mini roundabouts, especially if you're turning right. Now here we're going to be following the road ahead towards the stop sign. We have to do a mandatory stop at the stop sign. And talking about stopping, the examiners asked them to pull over and stop here on the left. This is the first time I've ever had one of my students pull over and stop here on the left. But obviously there's a nice marked out bay here. You can see how bright those lines are. Couldn't miss those, right? There's a raised curb. There's no driveway. What I'm trying to say is this is a good, safe and what's the other word they use? Safe and convenient place to pull over and stop on the left. We'll do this at least 3 times on our test. So good early mirror checks, inside and left mirror, signal left, and slowly pull over a long distance to the left, and then stop when you're in a good position. Talking about stopping, this is a mandatory stop. What shape is a stop sign? Is it A, an octagon, or B, a hexagon? If you need to rewind the video to, let's say, double check, feel free. Correct answers in the comments down below, so that way I know you followed the video until this point. Now this road here is particularly important because we're going to have a change of speed. It's a very short distance, but it will be a 20-mile-an-hour road. Currently we're at a 30-mile-an-hour maximum speed limit due to there being regular lampposts. Street lighting is the correct term. Street lighting, Scott. And no signs. But here we have signs. So you'll see the 20 sign and the 20 on the ground. There's a speed change to 20 miles an hour due to the primary school that you can see on the right hand side. So obviously quite a lot of young students around, especially during the morning test and even the afternoon tests. Depending what time you're taking your test, do look out for lots of students. It can play in a lot on the driving test. Here we have a speed change back to 30 miles an hour, and it looks like the examiners again asked them to pull over and stop on the left. Now this was done quite suddenly, I do kind of know, and because I was on the test. Anyways, this is another part of the test which seems very awkward. So quite sudden there and awkward because the examiners asked them to edge up to this distance, which is roughly 1 car length from the vehicle in front. You could stop a little bit sooner, give yourself a tiny bit extra, as they're going to ask us to drive away again after this. This is called an angle start. Wake up everybody, I know you've lost me now, this is super boring, but what I'm trying to say is this is just part of the driving test. So don't be surprised when an examiner asks you to pull over and stop on the left, and then edge up a little bit more, alright, stop here, this is what they tell us, 1 car length before the next parked vehicle, thank you very much, and drive on when you're ready. That's my examiner voice. Now here we're actually starting our independent drive. The examiner has asked them to follow the sign, left, 2 roundabouts towards Burnt Oak. So nice and simple, nothing too tough. We're going to be turning left at the first roundabout. Nice blocker car there. The student used it. That was fantastic. And left again at the next roundabout. We've got traffic on the right, so we need to stop. Good observations. That's what most people lack at the second roundabout, is actually identifying it and doing the observations. So good work here from the student. No one on this zebra crossing, pedestrian crossing. It's marked out by the zebra pole, Belisha beacon, and the black and white stripes on the ground. That one has an island in the middle, so that's regarded as two separate crossings, just calling back to our theory test. Now that may be something that comes up again later, if you catch my drift. We're in for a shocker, guys. Stay tuned to the end. I promise you it's going to be all worth it, especially if you've been following the other social platforms that we're on. It is something that is trending viral right now. Talking about viral, this is actually the viral girl. So if you've been watching the YouTube channel, you've seen the series up to mock test 6 now. We do have another 3 more to go. Then the students actually taken this test, which is the real test for the real driving test. So we've pre-filmed her mock tests, and now she's actually taking the video you're watching now, the real driving test. Now, the reason why we call her the viral girl is if you've seen the video where there's a small child, they open a door, parked car door, and the student's way too close, and I had to put on the brakes, and then I actually had to ask them to take responsibility for their distance from that parked car. It's something that was quite debated in the comments, but there is a safety gap that we must keep from the parked vehicles in the event that someone suddenly opens the door without looking. So this smaller child opened the door without looking, and there was an incident. So if you've seen that video, you know exactly who I'm talking about, and this is that student. And like I said, if you followed the series so far on the YouTube channel, again, this is the same student. So we obviously wish them the best of luck, and so far so good, right? I haven't seen anything major happening. The roundabouts are really nice. Here we seem to be keeping that safe distance, which we just referred to from the parked vehicles. We're approaching junctions at a appropriate speed, that's what the examiners call it, and that's the running speed to jogging speed to walking speed. Early vision, early decision at the roundabout. Look at the steering, nice and smooth, in the lane. Mirrors and signals are all good. You wouldn't see that because we're just watching the dash cam footage, but the mirrors and signals are something that was really good from the student on this driving test. So that's nice. So just a real quick one. I know how boring this is, but it is 50% of the driving test. We've got to do those mirrors and signals. So mirrors are always first, signals are always second, and people always ask why. If you really want me to bore you some more, motorbikes and bicycles, that's why. So we always check the mirrors first, then we signal second, looking out for the motorbikes and bicycles especially. Then we've got to check our mirrors before we slow down and stop. So it's just an internal mirror for slow down and stop like we've done here. Then finally we've got to check our mirrors before we change direction. So actually before we move off here, we're going to check all the mirrors, and then we're going to change our direction, move into the center of the road. So really it's that side that's the most dangerous side where we're traveling, the right side that's important. So if we're changing direction to the right side, really have a look over to the right. And if you're moving off from being a parked car for the driving test especially, the examiners want us to look over the right shoulder as well, out the back window. That's called a blind spot check. If you've got experience at driving, you're just going to take the UK test because you need the UK license. That is 50% of the test, and that's 50% of the test that you, as an experienced driver, maybe an overseas license holder, will need to have. So make sure that you break your neck, not literally, just figuratively, when you're moving away from a park position and before reversing. And always check your mirrors before you signal, the classic MSM, mirrors signal maneuver. Right, here we are, crossroads. Crossroads are just as important as roundabouts. We want to know where to position. That's the important part. So we're going to move in nice and slow, walking speed, into the middle and stop. Now that I actually thought that the student failed for. So far we've got that right turn there at that crossroads where you could see that oncoming traffic. What do you think? Put it down in the comments. Do you think that that would have been a serious driver fault? Have you seen someone fail a driving test for something like that before? I know I have, but I'll just give you a quick spoiler alert. That was not a serious driver fault. So far, we are still on a pass here, guys. The lane discipline here is kind of struggling a little. We seem to be straddling that center line here. kind of going over into the left lane. This here is actually a minor driver fault for normal driving. Normal driving can be a serious driver fault, but the directions here, I believe, yes, that's correct, actually. It's not this traffic light. Shortly, I think we'll be turning right again. So no, that was a minor driver fault, which is quite fortunate. It can be a serious driver fault for not using the left lane when it was available. So if the left lane is available, we must use the left lane. If you're new to the channel, you're probably thinking, whoa, this guy, he does talk too much. Let me take a sip of coffee so I can talk some more. One sec, guys. Okay, back to work. So if we don't use the left lane, just to break the repetitiveness here, and we can use the left lane, we will fail the driving test. So what I'm saying is that the student got a little bit lucky at the crossroads. That could have been a fail because I think we slowed down that oncoming traffic. Slow stop swerve, fail. Serious driver fault, fail. Slow stop swerve, fail. Serious driver fail. And that's how you know if it's a fail or not. Slow stop or swerve, okay? The 3 S's. And we didn't use the left lane when we could have used the left lane. Again, another serious driver fault. So far, this exam has been quite... I know I labelled this video as the worst examiner, but the video's not over yet. Nah, I'm just joking. This examiner's not the worst driving examiner. They've actually been quite nice in hindsight here, looking back at this video. There's definitely 2 serious driver faults so far. Another thing which kind of came up a little bit was speed. The examiner seemed to have not mentioned anything, at least to us in the debriefing, but the speed, a lot of 20 zones, and it is very difficult to keep to 20 miles an hour. Keep looking for the signs. We did talk about the speed change at the primary school earlier, and that was a 20 zone, short-lived before the twin roundabouts where we started our independent drive to Burnt Oak. So here we have no signs. So do you remember when we've got no signs and regular street lighting, that the theory test tells us that is a 30-mile-an-hour road. So here we have a 30-mile-an-hour road, okay? No signs, regular street lights, 30 miles an hour. Here we would probably be doing about 20 to 25. Here I'd say slow down to 15 to get through this gap between the parked cars, oncoming traffic, and the island here, which we're going to have to move back towards the left. So now that we've got straighter road, we can start to speed up again. And if we get more room, we can definitely try to get up to top speed, for maximum speed, I should say, on this road, which is 30. So we could try to get up to around 28, especially here. As you can see, these are the conditions we were just referring to. So we want to get up to 28, hold 28 until we get to the narrow spaces, the bendy roads, the parked cars, the oncoming traffic. Open road, get up to speed. Closed road, like narrow, restricted, start to slow down to a jogging speed, maybe even a walking speed. Here at the roundabout, I believe we're turning left. We're positioned in the left lane, so that means we must be turning left. We also do want to apply the signal, but our position in itself and pointing and leaning, whatever you want to call it, as we're following that curve on the left, is a signal in itself. It's showing people where we're pointing and how we're going to be turning. So this was actually a wrong direction at the roundabout. The student did very well in keeping safe. The examiner gave them a direction at the roundabout to turn right. That's the third exit. The student accidentally got confused and did the safest thing they could at that time, which was to turn left. So they would have saved themselves there. Remember, the direction is not important. We all go the wrong way, and we're not being examined on our sense of direction per se, okay? We don't want to go the wrong way all the time because the examiner does need us to complete certain sections like crossroads, roundabouts, etc., okay? So if it happens once or twice, it's quite normal, but make sure that you stay safe. The safety is so important, and it's what the examiners are marking us on. So if you're a safe driver, it doesn't actually make a big difference with the driver faults if you go left instead of going right. Now we're going to go straight ahead, second exit. Use the left lane. Although there's no lane markings here, try to imagine the lane markings. Keep the left lane, so a little bit kind of in the middle there. But because there's no lane markings, we could argue it is just one lane. But just edge on the side of caution. If we're going straight around about, try to follow what would be the left lane around the roundabout and then exit into the left lane. So I believe soon we are going to get some directions. Okay, here we continue to follow the road actually. Signs to central London. So the next roundabout, this is quite a big one. And this test route is actually a new test route for me, for Mill Hill driving testers. So we're following the bus here. Mirror signal, position right lane. Follow the right lane if you must, but usually we'll just spiral out like the bus. Now we have to change one lane to the left. Mirror inside left signal, left mirror check, position left, again, mirror signal, position, move left, let's go, come on now, what you waiting for, hurry up, change lane, this is what the examiner's saying in their head. Alright, okay, fair enough, we're overtaking. That's good, as long as we're overtaking, then we're using the right lane for the right reason. So if we're turning right or overtaking, we are using the right lane for the correct reason. I believe we've been told at the second traffic light to turn right. Is it this one? Second one, yes, correct. Memory's okay. I'll hopefully remember this route. Well, I got it on video, right? I'm talking to myself now, sorry guys. To give to my next student at Mill Hill Driving Test Centre. So this test was a late morning test. I believe this was around 10:21. I think it was something like that, 10:21 or 10:14. So this is what I would say a route that could probably be done in the sort of late morning, afternoon, around noon route. It looks like it's using a lot of the big roads. We've got dual carriageway here, speed limit of 40, I believe I saw a sign there. And here's the second traffic light. Good early positioning from the student. We talked about that routine earlier, which is the mirror signal move or the mirror signal position, and good moving early, positioning early. Always move early. Get into the lane as early as possible. If you see a parked car coming up ahead, move out into the center of the road early. Be in that position before you reach, I don't know, the junction, the traffic light, the parked car, the width restrictions, whatever it is that you need to pass by or get through, move into that position as early as possible. Look at this, we've got a blazing sun right in our eyes here. Sorry about the rear camera, it seems like the wire might be a bit loose there. It is back to normal now. I'm sorry about that, it has been glitching for a little while, but it looks like for the remainder of the video it's be fine. We're turning left, I believe here, mirror signal position. Good, have early vision, early decision. The left turns from a student can be wide sometimes. It's quite common when people accelerate when they're turning. So if we accelerate, speed the vehicle up while we're in a turn, steering the steering wheel, turning the car, it usually runs wide in a turn due to the acceleration. So if that's an issue that you see coming up on your lessons, just try to adjust the accelerator, less pressure, more steering, and you'll find you'll probably have better accuracy that way. I've been scanning all these zebra crossings. Here's the parked car. We talked about this, move out early into the middle of the road. Brilliant early position again from the student. No zebra crossings up ahead because there's no zebra poles with the Belisha beacons. We are more than halfway through this test. We're coming up to the last sort of 10 minutes now. If you're still here, just comment 10 down below. 10-10, baby. Another sip of coffee, sorry guys. This video is sponsored by coffee. Do my radio voice now. Okay, so we are actually coming back towards those twin roundabouts that we were at earlier. And we did a left-left following the signs towards Burnt Oak. We're now coming back to those same roundabouts from the opposite side. And the examiner will ask the student to turn right, second exit. So it's only going to be involving one of the roundabouts, but I do beg that you have a good look at the sign here on the left. That's the twin roundabouts. Quite confusing, lots of writing there, lots of different directions, and that's twin roundabouts. So two roundabouts joined together. Just as a repeat, we're turning right. Nice early slow down, good early vision, nice right turn into the circle. Brilliant. And crossing? Yes, well done. So you can see you got, I know that sounds patronising, sorry. So you see we've got the pedestrians coming on the right side there. The students seen them, even though they're still completing the roundabout, it's not quite finished, they've still scanned that crossing, seen the pedestrians, now approaching the centre of the crossing, which is where the centre island is. That means that they must come to a stop and allow the pedestrians to cross. There's also something called tactile pavement. That is a pinkish stone normally, and it has raised circles. This is created so that people that are visually impaired know that they're on a zebra crossing or at a pedestrian crossing. So if you're ever wondering, is this a pedestrian crossing? If you look down and see tactile pavement, road markings, or even signs, this is everything that confirms a pedestrian crossing. If there are no road markings, no tactile pavement, no signs, this is not a pedestrian crossing, and usually just a safety reservation or island for pedestrians to wait until there's no traffic to then cross the road. Here we have a very narrow road, lots of parked cars. Looks like we're doing a few turns. Probably going to go do the maneuver. Why can't I remember what maneuver we got? I want to say it's pull over and stop on the right. Okay, sorry, maybe I was cheating a little bit. This, I would say, is probably the, dare I use the word easiest maneuver that you could get out of the 4 separate maneuvers, one chosen at random for the test. So this is the one that the examiner's chosen for this test, and it, again, is the pull over or stop on the right hand side. Also referred to as the reverse right, as after we pull over and stop on the right hand side, the examiner will ask us to reverse back roughly 2 car lengths. This is quite funny actually. So the student stops here and goes, "Is that all right?" And then the examiner says, "No, we just started by that door over there." So what they're trying to say is, no, you've only reversed maybe 1 car length, so you need to go more. So just remember, we started by the door on the right there. So from the door to where we are now, probably not 2 car lengths. But the exam... that's what happened. This is brilliant. Okay. Jogging my memory now. So the student got too close to the curb. They were actually doing pretty good. They could have made it. Anyways, they were worried. So rightfully so. They kind of looked at the examiner and said, "Oh, I think I'm getting too close to the curb. Can I move forwards?" And the examiner said, "Do what you need to do." Now, what that means is, yes, you can. So for all the maneuvers, very, very, very valuable information here. My instructor, I was being kind with my words there, never told me that. So I actually failed my first exam because I hit the pavement. I didn't know that you were allowed to correct the position of the vehicle. We call it a correction, or I call it a correction. That means you can move back to the start position if you choose to, start the whole maneuver again, or you could just move the car to wherever you need to, like the examiner said, do what you need to do, and then reverse back afterwards and finish the maneuver off. So very good knowledge there. Obviously, they had a decent driving instructor that gave them that knowledge, unlike me. Oh my God, I could have whacked him, I'm telling you. Keep it PG friendly here, Scott. PG friendly. But yeah, very frustrating. So it does bug me sometimes. You may have known my history with other driving instructors. It does bug me sometimes when I see people teaching really badly or not really caring too much about their students. Anyways, this isn't a sob story. We'll put the violin away. And here we have the temporary traffic lights. So we've got the roadworks here. And if you can see the triangles, we've got the triangle traffic light. And beyond that, we've got another triangle showing that the roadworks are on the right-hand side of the road. These traffic lights have a red sign, which we cannot see. And that's by that red traffic light. It's not always by the red traffic light. But if you have a look, you may see there's a red sign just by the red traffic light, hidden behind the second triangle there, just on the left-hand side on the pavement. That is the most important part about roadworks, and that sign says, "Wait here." So it tells you where to stop. Sometimes that red sign could be where that first triangle is on our left with that picture of the traffic light. That red sign could be there, and the traffic light could be where it is now. So if we go past that red sign, we fail our driving test. You'll see the red sign here. Wait here until green light shows. Look for that sign when you get roadworks. So important, the most important part. So I highly recommend looking for that sign, and you must stop at that sign if the traffic light's red. So a little bit different from your normal junctions, your regular traffic lights, where there will be a road marking, and that would be a big, thick, white, solid line, and we call those stop lines. So if there's a stop line, you know you need to stop. I'm going to make this into a t-shirt. No stop line, no stopping. But for temporary traffic lights, obviously, there won't be a stop line. There will be a sign. So they work a little different. We just went over that. Here we'll be turning right, I'm sure, back to the test centre, following the learner in front. Good positioning from the learner in front. Good positioning from this student as well. We're keeping to the centre line. It can make all the difference sometimes to the traffic behind in order to turn left if we hug the centre line and keep that centre position when turning right. So this road, it's only one lane. It's quite narrow. It wouldn't, but we still always want to keep that positioning, and then we will emerge out until the center of the road, the center line I was going to say of the road in front. I know this sounds complicated. Disappears out the windscreen, so if you want to rewind that, just watch when the student goes out to the middle of the road. You'll see the center line disappear. As soon as the center line disappears out your windscreen, out of the picture, the dash cam, turn right. Don't turn before that happens, because that will turn us onto the opposite side of the road and into the oncoming traffic. Now that was nice. There was a pedestrian there. I was going to call him a student, waiting to cross the road, but it's not a pedestrian crossing. So I believe this is rule 19. This is what we were calling back to, or waiting for, I should say, with the viral videos about pedestrian crossings and pedestrians using a crossing. I believe it's called Rule 19. Now, Rule 19, I believe, was for the situation that we just saw. I will do my research, guys, but we're just kind of riffing here at the moment. That means if a pedestrian's walked out into the road, you need to stop. A little bit different from a pedestrian waiting, okay? It's not a crossing. They're just standing there on the pavement and they're waiting. We talked about the safety islands. Waiting in the safety island, waiting on the pavement. Not a pedestrian crossing. Not a pedestrian crossing. Keep going. If they step out on the road, Rule 19, this is my dyslexia mixing two words around, then, you know, was that a pedestrian waiting to cross at a pedestrian crossing? Was that why he was just talking about all of that? What? So did I need to stop there? That was a pedestrian crossing. This guy's confusing me. Hang on a second. Let me just use common sense. It's a pedestrian crossing. It's a zebra crossing. They're standing on the edge of the pavement looking to walk out on a pedestrian crossing. Do I need to stop? So ignore everything this guy said in the video because he's too confusing. Pedestrian waiting at pedestrian crossing. Do I need to stop? How about yes? So that's it, guys. That's the bombshell. That was the serious driver fault. The only serious driver fault, because it was a pedestrian crossing. The pedestrian's waiting on the tactile pavement to walk out on a pedestrian crossing. Scott, stop using that tone of voice. You must come to a stop. Because the student didn't. They have now failed the driving test. And it's very hard to accept when it's one serious fault. It was only one, just that one, just now, just before we turned into the car park, right at the end of the test. Oh, he's really rubbing the salt in the wounds now. Guys, that was all done live. That was the first time I've watched this, like the first time you've watched this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have, don't give up. Stay strong. Keep going. The examiners aren't as bad as the thumbnail made them out to be. It's basically clickbait. Don't be angry at me. Actually do. Unfollow. don't like, don't subscribe, because I don't care. If you've enjoyed this, guys, stay tuned for more like this. Until then, stay safe. God bless. I love you all. And let's be kind to everybody, okay? Speak to you later. Bye-bye.